This is Aaron Marshall with Ratio Christi here at UNC Wilmington. So we're talking about truth, and what I want to give you today is tools to help you evaluate truth claims to determine if what the person is saying is actually self-contradictory. And there's a tool, there's a first principle of logic that we're going to use when we're evaluating these kind of claims, and it's the law of non-contradiction. The law of non-contradiction says this: something can't both be A and non-A in the same sense. Something can't both be true and not true in the same sense. What do I mean by that? I mean, either, if I tell you God exists, then it's true that either God exists or he doesn't exist. But it can't be the truth that he both exists and not exists in the same sense. The earth is either round or it's not round. You know, it's flat or something else. But it can't both be round and flat in the same sense, because that would violate the laws of non-contradiction. Now, this is really helpful for you when you're listening to people's truth claims as they're making truth statements. And what I want you to be able to do, what I want you to help learn to do, is apply the claim to itself to see if it violates the law of non-contradiction, if it's self-refuting. For example, if I were to say to you, I don't speak a word of English, what would be wrong with that statement? Well, I just said it in English, right? So you could ask me, well, didn't you just say that in English? You see, it's self-contradictory. It doesn't satisfy its own parameters. Okay? What are some other claims that you've heard from people on this topic? If someone were to say to you, there is no truth, what could you ask them? You could ask them, is that true? Because they're saying it's true that there is no truth. So again, it's self-contradictory. Okay? What about this? There's no such thing as absolute truth. Remember, in a previous video, I submitted to you that all truth is absolute truth. But if someone says to you there is no such thing as absolute truth, what are they telling you? You could ask them this: is that absolutely true? Because that's an absolute truth claim. So again, it doesn't satisfy its own parameters. What if I told you there's no such thing as truth? Well, how about this? There's no truth in anything but science. What's wrong with that statement? The question I want to ask is that a scientific truth claim? Is that a scientific truth? Because it's not. It's a philosophical statement. And if I tell you there's no truth in anything but science, then either that truth I learned from science, which I didn't, and it can be true, or else there's other things I can know apart from science. So you see, it doesn't satisfy its own convictions. You should doubt everything. Should I doubt that? You ought not judge. Then why are you judging me? That's just your interpretation. Well, is that just your interpretation? What about this? You shouldn't impose your moral views on others. Is that your moral view that you're imposing on me? You see, all of these claims don't satisfy their own statements and therefore are self-refuting. What about the last one? All religious views are true. What if I asked you this? What if my religious view is that not all religious views are true? Would that also be true? Because on your view, you're telling me that what I believe is true, but what I believe is true is that not all religious views are true. You see, not all religious views can't be true because they contradict each other in all of the most important ways possible. So as you can see, learning to evaluate truth claims can really help you in engaging in these discussions, listening to what people are saying, and asking yourself, does what they're saying even satisfy itself? And I would submit to you that most of the time, the answer is no. Remember, at Ratio Christi here at UNC Wilmington, we always want to ask good questions and seek good answers. This is Aaron Marshall.